Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar this month. We're going to be talking with Barry on Sage Inventory Advisor, and Barry has over 23 years of experience in all technical aspects of running and creating SaaS companies, from coding to applications, running the servers, and maintaining websites. At Netstock, which is the company that has built Sage Inventory Advisor, Barry focuses on go-to-market activities, including marketing, sales, and products. His core role is to ensure that the businesses is aligned with customers, market trends, and business partners. So we would like to give a special welcome to Barry and thank him for jumping in from South Africa at 6 p.m. in the evening and joining us for our webinar today. So Barry, I'm going to turn the time back over to you.
Thank you, Julie, and really appreciate that introduction. So let me just start my screen share, and then we can get going. All right, so Julie has already introduced me. I am Barry Cook, one of the co-founders of Netstock, and Netstock is the company behind Sage Inventory Advisor. Sage Inventory Advisor is an OEM product in the Sage world, and it connects to most of the Sage ERP systems, whether they are on-premise or whether they are in the cloud. So who are we? Where did we come from? So the founders of Netstock has worked in the inventory optimization space for probably 20 years before we started Netstock, and that was really in the consulting and enterprise type market. And in early 2010, the three founders came together, and we said to ourselves, you know what, there's a massive opportunity for all of these small and medium enterprises that actually have the same problem as those big enterprise customers that we have served in the past. The problem is that you cannot sell a $500,000 piece of software to an SMB that maybe only have $1 million of inventory. Just the return on investment just isn't there. In 2010, three things came together which allowed us to really build this software. So the first thing was that software as a service became a standard way to deliver software, and people were willing to pay for a monthly fee for access to the software instead of this massive upfront investment into a piece of software. And that allowed us to charge these SMBs a small monthly fee for access instead of having to do this massive upfront investment, which includes servers and consulting and so on. The second thing that happened was that the web browser became a platform that allowed us to deliver software without any installation. And these days that seems pretty standard. Everyone's doing it. You might be using your Sage system in a web browser or something like Salesforce.com or anything like that. But back in 2010, that was pretty new, and we made use of that opportunity. And then the third thing that happened is that the cloud became something that people trusted. So we were able to leverage the cloud to take all of the customer's information, do all of the big data analytics, and produce something that is as useful as what the big guys have. And I think what really happened in the last kind of 20 years or so is that there's been a very big shift in the way that companies manage inventory. And it started with the big guys. So the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Home Depots of the world, they silently and very decisively turned into data companies instead of just normal retailers and inventory companies. And what they have done is they have taken all of this masses of data that they have in their data warehouses, employed a whole bunch of data scientists, and used that data to gain a competitive advantage. And the SMB market, even the mid market, hasn't fully realized that they are playing, on the back foot. And so we have made it our mission to also arm these upcoming companies with the same type of data analytics that the big guys have access to, so that they can also compete in the marketplace. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a world where there's only Walmart and Amazon and no one else. I want to live in a world where there's a rich ecosystem of providers for all of these inventory items. So with that in mind, let's look at where the supply chain is at the moment. I'm sure all of you will agree with me that the supply chain at the moment is in a massive disarray. We only just got past the long lead times and the inability to get inventory from our suppliers, and all of a sudden we now are facing economic downturns. We're facing higher interest rates and so on. So our demand is also looking not in a good shape. And what we have seen is that many companies, when the supply side of the supply chain was disrupted, tried to get as much inventory into their warehouses as they could, because they never knew if they would be able to get the next order delivered, the next purchase order delivered into the warehouse. So they kind of stockpiled as much as they could, with the understanding that there's a much higher demand than usual, because obviously the consumers can't get hold of these items. And now, just as their warehouses are overflowing with inventory, demand patterns change, and now we have a problem again. On top of that, we have things like labor shortages, so especially in warehouses, where people, we've all heard of the Great Resignation. People are finding other jobs. They're demanding different ways to work and so on. Costs are up, especially the cost of money. So if you're using a facility to finance inventory, that is suddenly becoming a lot more expensive than it was even 6 months ago. And life is just getting hard. And so what we have are inventory planners and inventory replenishment people who are sitting all day and they do nothing but fight fires. On the one hand, the sales people are shouting at them because they are out of stock of the things that the sales guys want to sell. On the other hand, the CFO is shouting at them because they have a lot of working capital locked up in the inventory in the warehouse, and they can't unlock that cash. And the CFO and the CEO are constantly complaining, and the poor person sitting in the warehouse, or that is responsible for the warehouse, has nothing but pain every day, and all they're trying to do is fight fires, and it's getting harder and harder. Just coming back to why does Netstock and Sage Inventory Advisor exist? When the sales force needs to do their job, we give them a CRM. We give them Salesforce.com. When your marketing needs to do their job, we give them something like Marketo or HubSpot or something like that. When the finance guys need to do their job, we give them an ERP system or accounting package. But when the inventory guys need to do their job, what do we give them? We give them a spreadsheet, and that's just not fair. So we really want to give these guys a best of breed tool to replace their spreadsheet, to make their lives easier and reduce that amount of firefighting that they have to do on a daily basis. So these are the standard. I'm sure all of you have seen these stockouts. at the moment is maybe not the biggest, but excess inventory is the biggest problem that people are starting to face. Like I said, that bullwhip effect of, oh my goodness, I'm not going to get the inventory in, let me order more and more. Now suddenly you're sitting with all that inventory in your warehouse, the supplier, doesn't care, and now you have excess. But sometimes you might have excess, but you also have stockouts. And that is the real frustrating thing, especially if you're looking at your business from a finance point of view, because we've invested all this money in inventory, but we can't make sales because we are perpetually out of stock. What's going on? And of course, it takes a lot of time to do the replenishment of the inventory back into your warehouse because it's becoming more and more complex. And then, of course, it's very hard at the moment to forecast very well. So if you don't have a system that can automatically start picking up new trends in the market, your forecasting accuracy is really going to suffer. And when forecasting accuracy suffers, it exacerbates especially the top two problems that we see that people in the supply chain have. So, like I said, if you are still using your analog tools, and I'm putting Excel into that bag of analog tools to compete in this data-driven world where the big guys are literally employing thousands of data scientists and massive computing power, you constantly playing from behind. And, I don't think that's fair. So our technology really is designed to help, in all of these issues. The problem is that the ERP system, generally, they have a very good inventory control component to it. So you will receive the inventory, it will go into the warehouse, you know how much is in every bin, where it is, the movements from one warehouse to the other, the sale of the inventory. And if you open your ERP and you say, for this product, how many have I got in this warehouse? It will tell you there's 75 on hand. You can be guaranteed, you walk into the warehouse, you go count them, there's 75. So the control of all the inventory is really going well with these ERP systems. The problem is that even though it is extremely accurate and you know that there's 75 items there, the question that these ERP systems don't answer is, how much should I have? So it's all good and well that you know that you have 75, but you might actually need 150 because we are now going into the high season. Or actually you need only 20 because we're in the low season, or this is a slow moving item, and so on. So this is what Inventory Advisor really does, is it looks at all of this information coming out of the ERP, and it says, okay, now we can do our predictive analytics, and now we can understand how much should there be of which of these items do we have too much, which of these items we have too little, when should we order from the from the suppliers or the vendors, and how much are we expecting to sell in the future. So this is really the kind of gap that we're trying to plug for our customers. So let's just look at, I'm sure many of you know about this, the pains. So you are reacting instead of being proactive. So like I said, you always get the people shouting, oh, why are you out of stock of this item? I can't sell them. Now you're reacting and you're placing an order, it's too late. Why have you got too much of this inventory? Oh, now you're trying to react, but you already, the inventory is already there. It's too late to react. So instead of reacting, can we actually be proactive and plan and kind of get the calm back into the replenishment? Your working capital is tied up in inventory. That's normally quite a big issue, because to do more, to grow your business, to expand the business, you need more working capital. But now all your working capital is tied up in inventory that isn't moving, and your line of credit might just say, we can't give you any more, because already we've given you all of this extra money, and your business isn't growing. So is there a way for us to you know, give you more working capital back by getting rid of that excess inventory, identifying where the problems are and working with that. And that's, you know, that's something we can help with. Of course, like I said, lower sales because of stockouts. We don't have to speak too much about that. And then, of course, we're always looking backwards in our reporting systems. So very often the ERP system has a great report writer. It, you know, it gives you amazing insights on the insights will be on what happened, right? So okay, so we know things went bad, and the ERP will tell you yes, it was bad, but that doesn't help us, because how do we know? How do we look forward to understand what do we do today to get into a better position tomorrow? And your ERP or your BI tool generally isn't going to give you a forward-looking reporting. They always give you a backwards-looking reporting tool. So with Sage Inventory Advisor, we help you with supply and demand planning. So it's both sides of your internal supply chain. The ability to model different inventory policies, which is very important, because you know your sales guys might want a 99.5% service level for you know, for the customers, but that might actually be too expensive, and your CFO, you know, will never sign off on that kind of you know, service levels and investment needed. With a tool like Inventory Advisor, we will allow you to model and say, right, if we go from 99.5 to, you know, 98.8, you might actually save $1 million in investment. But you know, it's not a big change in how much you can sell. And if you then tie that back to forecasted sales, you can very quickly understand if that, you know, is saving that $1 million will help you or hinder you in making your sales. And then generate ideal recommendations, order recommendations. So it's one thing, you know, planning your demand, planning your supply, modeling the correct inventory, but how do you actually achieve implementing that ideal inventory policy? And the best way we found to do that is when you're placing orders on your vendors. So if you're placing an order and then you order too much, or you order too little or too late, that's when, you know, the whole policy goes out the window. So what Inventory Advisor is designed to do is help you to place the correct order every time, based on your inventory policy, based on the forecast, based on how your supplier is performing, so that, you know, when the inventory comes in, it's the right inventory at the right place at the right time and the right amount. Not too much, not too little, not too late. And that's a very important aspect of the whole system. And then again, you know, we have to track the performance against the targets. So, you know, once you set your policy, you do your order recommendations. Are we hitting the targets that we are setting up? So you need a good dashboard to understand that things are getting better or things are getting worse. But you also need to look at how is my supplier performing? You know, we might be planning and we might be planning on a lead time of 90 days, but actually the supplier these days is giving they're giving us a 200-day lead time. So it's no good planning on the promise that the supplier is giving us. We should really measure that performance and understand that, okay, we should actually be planning on 200 days and a high variability, or 90 days and a low variability, or, you know, 20 days or whatever it is. But if you don't track those things, then, you know, it's impossible to make those very specific inventory decisions. And so what Inventory Advisor does is every single time an order is received into your warehouse, that supplier gets measured. How long did you state your lead time is going to be? How long did you actually take to deliver that? How many of the items did we order? How many did you deliver? Did you over deliver? Did you under deliver? And all of that stuff goes into a sophisticated safety stock engine that will help you to mitigate those risks in your business. Of course, there's also a demand risk, right? So it's not just the supplier that is giving you problems. On the demand side, you're getting as much issues as you have on the supply side. So what we do with Inventory Advisor is we look at how the forecasts are tracking against actual sales as the actual sales happen, in the future. And then we can say, oh, we consistently over forecasting this item. So we think we're going to sell more than what we really think that we really sell. And that often, results in excess inventory in your warehouse. Or the other way around, we are under forecasting. So we think we're going to sell a certain amount, we sell more. Now you have stockouts and, what's worse. So by continually monitoring how our forecasting is doing against actual sales, we can again feed that information into the safety stock engine to ensure that we are protected against those risks. So tracking performance is absolutely vital. And then, of course, with the predictive analytics and the powerful engines built into Inventory Advisor, you can now project stock levels and purchases into the future. So not only are we not backwards looking, and not only will we show you today what is the ideal thing you have to do, but we can also project into the future. When will you be ordering? How much will you be ordering? And what will your stock levels look like into the future? This is a very, very powerful feature of the software, because imagine you're sitting with your supplier and you are negotiating terms with the supplier. If you are able to give your supplier a complete plan into the next year of what you're going to order, when you're going to order, how much you're going to, how much dollars you're going to spend with the supplier, now you have a far better bargaining position with the supplier. And this allows us to, get better terms, to get preferential inventory, and so on and so on. So being able to look into the future and not just backwards is a real great ability that Inventory Advisor gives us. So leveling the playing field is what we're all about. I've said this a few times now, but what we give you is predictability. So instead of just handling chaos and fighting fires all day, we give you a bit of predictability. It is powerful, but also simple. So, when I said that we reimagined that enterprise scale software for the SMB market, I really mean it. What we've done is we've taken all of the sophistication that those enterprise customers have and kept that under the hood. But the presentation and the way that Inventory Advisor works is so much more easy, which means that you don't have to employ a team of PhDs to run this thing. Your normal people can use this. It's very simple and easy to understand, but you still get the powerful analytics in the background. Prescriptive insights in real time. So instead of just telling you what happened, like your BI tool will tell you, we will tell you what you should do today to make a positive impact on your business. And that is really, really powerful, because all of those alerts of what you should be doing are all based on inventory best practices. So you know that your team is always doing the right thing that will get your inventory into that ideal position. So obviously, if you have the right stuff at the right time, your customers become more loyal, you capture more profit because you're not stocking out all the time, and you also capture more profit because you're not overstocked and you have to pay, for storing that inventory that never moves. And then that allows us to free up some working capital. And just imagine, instead of having to go to the bank at the current high interest rates to, capitalize your business, wouldn't it be amazing if you can extract some working capital out of your dead inventory and use that to grow your business? That is a huge advantage that our customers are looking at the moment. And of course, future-proofing your business, because everything changes all the time. And if the last 2 years have taught us anything, is that, everything changes, and you have to be able to be agile and nimble and react at the drop of a hat to the new reality. Right, so a couple of just screenshots of what Inventory Advisor looks like. So this is the dashboard. As soon as you log in, this is what you'll see. And the dashboard really has two main rows, the top row and the bottom row. In this screenshot, the top row is all about inventory. How much do we have? How much should we have? So it calculates a model for you. And then generally, the how much you have and how much you should have is not the same. And the question is, okay, why? Why have I got $10.3 million of inventory, but I could be on 4.7 million? Well, look at this. You got $3.6 million of excess inventory. 2,300 items are in excess right now, which is, one of the reasons you over inventory. Not only have you got too much in excess, but you have placed purchase orders on your vendors that when those items arrive, they're going to push you into an excess situation. So if you think about it, what you're doing is you're taking perfectly good working capital, turning it into inventory and storing it for a long time. This is an early warning system. This is, hey, you have placed these orders, they are not great. Let's see if we can change them and save you some money in the long run. So the top row is all about how much have we got, why have we got too much, and what can we do about it. And remember those alerts I told you about? So yes, 500 items that you have surplus orders today, 2.5 million. But if you just fix the top five out of 500, you will make a $500 difference in your business today. And that is 20%. So only doing 5 items, you can fix 20% of that issue today. So that is the power of the 80-20 principle that we inside Sage Inventory Advisor always apply. The second is the fill rate. Okay, so you might be able to reduce your inventory, but does that mean that we're going to have too little to supply our customers that always use these items? Well, currently we are achieving 86% fill rate. You are targeting a much higher. Remember that policy that I was speaking about? We're targeting almost a 95% fill rate. Okay, so why are we so low? Well, you have 967 items that are stocked out today. So you got nothing in the warehouse and your customers are demanding these items. And you're losing $658,000 of sales just because of those items that you have no stock in. So not only do we know that they're out of stock, we can also tell you how much lost sales do you have because you don't have those items. But not only are you stocked out, but here are 33 items where you are potentially going to stock out. So potential stock out item is an item where you have on hand in the warehouse right now, but before the next purchase order arrives, you will be out of stock. And what we're calculating here is how much you will potentially lose in that time frame between when you're out of stock and when the next order arrives. So again, early warning system here. You are potentially going to stock out in the future, and we will tell you, if you drill into these items, we'll tell you exactly the day that you will stock out. So you can still do something about that and make some decisions. Ordering. So one click of a button, Sage Inventory Advisor gives you this whole order schedule. So it's a recommendation of every single item that you need to order from a very specific vendor, from this vendor today to this warehouse. And it gives you, for every one of these items, it gives you all of the information that you need to ensure that you are placing the correct order. And it's even giving you the ideal recommendation for every one of these items. So instead of trying to sit with a spreadsheet for hours and hours and hours to try and understand how much should I order today, once your policies are set up, once your forecasts are done, which by the way happens all automatically, this is literally a 1-second process to generate all these numbers. And now all that your planner does is reviews and make sure that these items are not out of kilter, press download, and this will go straight back into your Sage ERP as a purchase order. So it just saves you a huge amount of time and energy, and it allows you to place the perfect order every time you do a purchase order on your vendor. Classification. I haven't even touched on classification. All items are not created equal, and so what we understand, and like I said before, in Sage Inventory Advisor, is that the 80-20 principle is so important to us. 20% of your items will make 80% of the sales. If you fix 20% of the problem, 80% of the headache goes away. 20% of the items, 80% of the headache. And so what we do is we classify items into ABCs, low, medium, high velocities, and you'll see that the items in green are really your bread and butter items, your A mediums, your A highs, and even your B highs. And these items you really have to keep an eye on. If I just go back one, you'll see that even in the order schedule, every item we tell you, you're ordering a B high item, you're ordering an A high item, you're ordering a C low item. Guess what? If you don't have enough money to place this order, your open to buys is depleted. Don't order the C lows, because look at this, they just don't give you the kind of turnover that you need. In the same breath, if you are into an excess situation on an A high item, maybe you don't want to do too much about that. You might want to cancel stop any ordering until it gets back into the parameters set. But this thing is moving, and it's moving fast, and it's making us profit. We won't, let's not try and get rid of these items by doing things like promotions and so on. But if you are excess in a C low or a C medium item, now we have to do some drastic measures, because these things are costing us money and they're not selling. So very, very powerful way of classifying the items in the software. I've spoken about supplier risk management, and like I said, every time we place an order, we measure, and here you can see for one item for the primary vendor, we can show you how many times it was delivered early, how many times it was delivered late, and in this case, all of it was delivered in full. But sometimes they oversupply, sometimes they undersupply, and that all then gives us a supplier risk with offset days and so on. So in this example, you can see the vendor is telling us to plan for 90 days lead time, but actually it's a 44-day lead time. So we can afford to get more orders quicker in, and keep our inventory levels down, get our stock turns up. So yeah, we currently serve about 1,850 customers worldwide, and a lot of those customers have been with us through the last 2 years of really difficult supply chain planning, and we've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of those customers saying, if I didn't have this piece of software, I cannot imagine how I would have gotten through any of these terrible times that we've been through. So I really believe that we help our customers in a big way, and like I said, I'm passionate about arming the small and medium businesses to also compete in the marketplace. Get in touch if you think that this is something that could help. We are very happy to chat with you, and let's see if we can help you. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them now.
Hey Barry, just one question. Can you kind of walk through or talk to us about how the pricing works? Is it subscription pricing? Is it monthly billing? How does that billing calculate?
Absolutely. So what we strongly believe in Netstock is that we want to have fair pricing to all of our customers. So this is a subscription service, which makes it much easier to pay on a monthly basis. You can pay annually if that's what you prefer, but I think probably 80% of our customers pay on a month-to-month basis, and we charge you on that monthly basis based on the value, the dollar value of the inventory that we manage for you. So in other words, if you're a very small operation and you only have $500,000 of inventory in your warehouse, you will pay a very small monthly fee, because that is the fair thing for us to do, to help you and not overcharge you. If, however, we are managing $100 million of inventory, obviously there's a lot more going on there, and your price will be higher, but still absolutely our ROI is measured in weeks and not years. So that is how our pricing works.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Just another question that I get a lot on from my current clients is support. Here at Eide Bailly, we do work with Netstock and Sage, and we sell the product and get that all set up. But when it comes to tech support and servicing, that is not something that our consultants do. So can you kind of explain to our group how your support system works, and when the coverage is, and those type of things?
Absolutely. So we take support and onboarding extremely seriously. So when you sign up for Sage Inventory Advisor, your company will go into a very structured 5-step process of onboarding, which includes things like connecting the data, cleaning up data, setting inventory policies, and so on. So there's a very structured process. Normally that takes between 8 and 12 weeks in wall time to get that done. Although it's not 12 weeks full time. We will have a meeting, we will discuss something, you'll go back, maybe go clean up your data, where you will work with your business partner. Very often they can assist with that. And then come back a couple of days later for another meeting, and let's see how it looks, and so on. So there's this onboarding process that ensures that after the onboarding, your system is set up properly for your specific needs, and the data is linked properly, and that you're getting the value out of it. In parallel with that, we have a learning management system. So there's a lot of content in terms of the theory of inventory management. So why do we classify items? How do we do a forecast? Why is safety stock important? And so on and so on. So all of your users can go through those learning courses and kind of skill themselves up to make most effective use of the tool. The great thing with that is if you have a new person starting a year after the implementation, they can just go into that same learning management system and get themselves skilled up to the same level as the rest of your staff, without having to have been there when the initial implementation was done. And then we also have instructor-led trainings, webinars, where we do this kind of training. This is kind of more of a, many companies, people come together in one webinar, and we go through all of that kind of stuff. And that's more, you can register if you want to, but you don't have to go, on day one, but you can, as soon as you're ready, you can do that. So the learning and teaching of the users, we find is hugely important, because if our users understand why things are, set up the way they are, and they understand why a recommendation is made, then, it becomes much easier to trust the system and to make those better inventory decisions. And then, in your day-to-day, we have 2 ways of support. So inside the app, there's a live chat, and you can just go in and say, hey, I've got this problem, please can you help me with X, Y, and Z? And we have people manning those chat lines 24/7 across the world, because we are an international business. There's always someone on staff to answer those, and they will walk you through any questions that you have. You can also send an email, which will open up a support ticket for like kind of bigger things that you want to understand or change and so on. And that will be a standard, ticketing system. And then everywhere in the app, when you go, there's a little button and you can watch a little video about this specific feature in the app. So if you've forgotten something or you're not clear, click on that, little video pops up, tells you what's going on, takes you 3 minutes, and you get the training and the support exactly where you need it, when you need it. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, you know what, it did, and even more so. So thank you so much. That's the one thing that I wanted to make sure that everybody understood, is just how good the support is and how many different ways to access it, and what's available within the app as well too. So thank you so much for going over that with us. I don't, Tiffany and Stacey, I don't think I see any other questions at this point in time. And so I think I just want to kind of close up here real quick, Barry, with, again, thanking you so much for joining us today, and sharing what your product does for our customers and answering those questions for us. If anybody wants to speak with Barry, you've seen his contact information on there. However, the best way to be able, and the quickest way to get able to get in touch and in contact with Sage Inventory Advisor is to reach out to your Eide Bailly CSM, which is either myself, Julie Allen, or Tiffany Stone. We'll be able to help you get connected with this wonderful product to help you with your inventory. Again, Barry, thank you so much for your time, and we do appreciate it. And you have a great evening there. And everybody on the call, please have a great day. We appreciate your attendance.
Thank you, Julie, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys and to your customers.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Al.